Hey Holly, how you doing today? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So you do something really interesting, and I think our listeners are going to really enjoy this conversation and hopefully learn some new things. But you
Ye-
are involved in lost dog recovery work.
Yes.
How did you first become involved with that, and specifically the organization Doggone Recovery?
So I became interested in helping this amazing organization by following them on Facebook. And then they were looking for volunteers in the Tallinn County, which that's where I am. And I signed up, and you go through a series of video training, and then you're hooked up to a what we call a lead person. And they are the ones that kind of train you in the field as the lost dogs come about. And I joined because they're not about advocacy, with cruelty or animal rights. They solely want to reunite those lost dogs with their families, and they do a great job. And it's such a wonderful feeling, always tears when you get that dog back to their family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the best things that I did when I was an animal control officer, I mean, obviously where there was a lot of cruelty and a lot of sad stories, but it was those happy endings when you could reunite a lost dog with its caregiver. And so what about this specifically, helping lost dogs? What about that mission really kind of pulled at your heart?
The first thing you think of when you find, you see, a lost dog, you want to run after him, you want to yell his name, and that is not what you do. And I was shocked to even learn that myself, because the first thing you're going to do is say, "Oh my God, my dog, come here, Fido," and they most of the time they take off because they're in fight or flight mode.
Mm.
So I love educating families, people in that comment on our lost dog posts, um, how to help with our mission with the dogs, because people are amazing in Connecticut, and they're amazing to our organization. And they, I'm going to keep an eye out. I'm going to check my ring cams. What else can I do to help? And it's just wonderful that people come together and they want to help. As long as we're doing it the right way, where we're not pushing the dog out of the area because there's so many people looking, if they just listen to us and let us guide them, they will get that dog home.
Mm. It's so interesting because before we hit record, you and I were talking about how, both of us are over 20 years old. And so technology is challenging to say the least at times. And we were also talking about kind of the benefits, but also kind of the downsides of social media and technology. And this is definitely one of the benefits, right? So, with the invention of these ring cameras and social media, it's like, you're right, this becomes a community effort. And with technology, I imagine that has made finding these dogs that much easier. And so along with that, so for people who might not understand this work, in addition to like the technology and the community aspect, what actually goes into recovering a lost dog? I mean, this is not easy work.
No, it's not. And many of the people, when I explain that it could take, you know, a few hours to several months. We've had cases where several months these dogs have been missing, and some of our members are absolutely the most dedicated people I've ever seen. So, the training is number one, sharing it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I share it on the Nextdoor app. We share in private groups. We also share with the animal control officer so they're aware. And then, there's putting up the posters. We guide the family. And if we need to help them, we certainly do with that. We'll hang posters, and we'll also, if there's sightings, we will track that. And if it's in a certain area, we'll set up a feeding station so the dog will start staying in that area with a trail cam, of course, monitoring that. Then it will be the trap. And, that has to be monitored, because if in the middle of the night, you get another animal that will go right in there, you have to release it. You just can't leave it. And we monitor those cameras all day. And all night. And that's a big part of it. Drones, we have several drone companies. We're actually looking for some more to help us search for dogs. They are a great asset. Um, it takes a village. It really does. The community, our teams across the state, we have counties. So it's Fairfield County, Tallinn County, Hartford County, we Middlesex. And there's just, we're so blessed to have so many amazing volunteers. And the people that run our group, they are just a world of knowledge.
How long have you been active with them?
2 years.
Okay.
I'm not as experienced. I don't say that I know everything because I certainly don't. I'm always, every time I get an opportunity to join and help search for a dog or, be on a case, I'm always learning. Really, it's just an amazing opportunity. And then I like to help share that information and hopefully get other people that will join us.
Yeah. I mean, so the thing is 2 years is, that is definitely long enough to kind of see the reality, because there's this thing in the compassion fatigue cycle that we call the zealot phase. That's like the very first stage that we all go through where, oh, I'm so energized. I have so much like passion and motivation, and I'm going to help all these dogs. And then the reality kind of starts to set in. And that's when we start to develop some compassion fatigue, right? Because it's not all rainbows and unicorns. There's a lot of like heartbreaking things that go into any kind of animal welfare work. And so, have you ever experienced compassion fatigue yourself? And what has that looked like personally for you?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think there's one person involved helping animals, whether it's rescue, ACOs, volunteers, that just share posts that are in touch with some type of compassion fatigue. Of course, it's always a heartbreak when a dog doesn't make it back to their family. Maybe it got hit by a car or a predator. That is heartbreaking. I have to say that thank God we don't have many of those cases that, you know, for us, we really do have a great success rate with this organization. But absolutely, your heart drops, when you see, oh God, there's a lost dog and it's an area where there's a highway or a busy street. Those are very scary. But like I said, I have to say, our team is absolutely phenomenal. They are right on top of it. They are guiding the family on what to do. And I think for our organization, there's a lot of scams, which is so heartbreaking. These
Mm,
scammers, they prey on the vulnerability of the families of the lost dogs. We immediately will explain to them what to do in those situations. Um, they're aware, but to do that to people, I just don't know. Like that's some kind of evil.
yeah.
But as far as compassion fatigue, I see it more with the rescues, our pounds, our advocates, our ACOs, because Connecticut's in a crisis. What is going on here? And there's no support from the state at all. And I'm seeing it more and more in all these posts. And I keep pushing and saying, if we don't come together in kindness and work together, the crisis is going to get even worse. And we know we're not getting support from the state of Connecticut. I've given testimony at the Capitol. I've talked to legislators. I've emailed. I do this often, and it falls on deaf ears. Everyone that I speak to, the same thing. So, what else can we do to prevent compassion fatigue, but keep going in our work to help
Yeah.
animals in Connecticut? That's to band together and help each other. Whether we like each other or we don't, our mission for helping animals is stronger than the hate and the fatigue. And if we can just start doing that, we're going to get somewhere. I am absolutely convinced of it. And I think, I actually know it's the only option left for us right now. I've seen it too much. And I'm seeing people post ACOs, pounds, rescues. They're tired of the fighting. They're tired. And they're fighting and they're frustrated because of compassion fatigue.
Yeah.
And I've left and gone to rescues and ACOs, and I will say, I hope you're doing something for yourself because you don't even know that this compassion fatigue sneaks up on you. And then all of a sudden you're angry, you're arguing with your own family, you're tired. You could even really become physically sick,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
has happened. Being a nurse, I've seen it. And it's a mindful thing that people need to keep in touch with themselves and even back out if you have to for a while. I've seen posts, I am taking a break. Good for you, I
Yeah.
say. Absolutely. Thank you for taking a break. Come back when you're ready, and they do, and they're better. Because it's so important because you're no good to anybody or any animal if you can't think clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, if you are burned out, you're not going to be any good to anyone. If you develop PTSD, and we know that people in animal shelters, and I think it's safe to say that we can generalize this. This is not a statistic. I am just generalizing it. I think we can generalize this to pretty much everyone within animal welfare. There is a risk of PTSD 5 times that of the general public. So if you have PTSD, if it gets to that point, it's going to be nearly impossible for you to help. And we also know that the suicide rates are also higher. So if you are not on this earth anymore, you're not going to be able to help. So it really is better than, to pull back and do what you can rather than just go full throttle and run into a wall and burn out like I've done several times. And so I love the fact that people are feeling safe enough to kind of go out there and say, hey, I'm taking a break. And hopefully, there's going to be people that are going to shame them, people that are, blah, blah, blah. But I think maybe the more that we have these conversations and the more that kind of gets out there about this, hopefully we will reduce that shame, and that guilt. And so you mentioned something really interesting because this was like one of my most severe symptoms of compassion fatigue, and that is anger. So for you personally, what tends to fuel your anger the most in animal advocacy work? Because not only are you a volunteer, but you are also advocating, by contacting your, representatives and all that. So, what are the things? And it's probably a long list. What fuels your anger the most?
Two things. Uh, Not prosecuting animal cruelty cases
Mm,
appropriately with adequate consequences, and the fact that the state of Connecticut knows that there are funds in this state to start supporting our rescues, pounds, ACOs, helping them, and it's not happening. They're not passing laws that need to be passed, like the pet shop bill. We do not need pet stores in Connecticut. Massachusetts banned it, New York, and so now they're filtering into Connecticut,
mm,
setting up pet shops. And then these people purchase these beautiful little dogs. They don't understand where they're coming from. They are adopting them out sick, adopting them out to people that can't afford them, don't understand that veterinary care has skyrocketed. And then where our poor ACOs across Connecticut are finding these abandoned, neglected, medically involved dogs and cats that are in trouble. And I absolutely commend our ACOs, every single one of them. They have a very difficult job. And to come across some of these cases that I've seen, I just say prayers for them because they are heroes. Uh, and I know that, they put a lot of work into them to get them rehabilitated and healthy and trained and then adopted out to wonderful families. But that's a lot of work. And
yeah.
this is not rocket science. We do not, need to continue on this way. 40% increase in animal cruelty. I was interviewed 2025 or 2024. I can't remember. Back then, it's gotten worse every day across multiple towns, abandoned animals. Our organization is helping ACOs to trap dogs that are just running loose. It's insane what is going on. At the Animal Caucus, I gave testimony in January 2026, and they agreed with me. Absolutely, everything I stated needs to be addressed. And yes, you're right, Holly, there is funds. Nothing changes. That is frustrating. That angers me. I am a woman who gets things done. I was a nursing supervisor for the state of Connecticut. I worked in Bridgeport Hospital in every specialty you could name, including the ER. And I had the skills to save lives. I had the tools. We have no support and no tools in Connecticut to help advocates, rescues, towns, and ACOs to get the job done. There's no reason for that. Absolutely no reason. And don't think when I see a legislator on the news commenting about the horrific Holland cockfighting incident, one of the biggest investigations in Connecticut. And then I see the legislator that I actually have reached out to on the phone, email, and spoke to in person and at events. And there he is talking about it when he literally said to me, it's not in my realm. Well, I vote. It better be in your realm. And there's a lot of animal advocates that are out there and people that care about animals. So make it your realm because it's time to address this. The other one is our state not having any support for animals, no programs that work. There is a voucher program that you can get vouchers for low cost spay and neuter. Here's the issue. Number one, there's not enough. Number two, you have to use them within a certain date. Try to get a certain date to get your dog spayed or neutered or your cat, and it expires. So it's no good. Rescues will ask for 400 of them. They'll get 40.
Oh, wow.
They immediately expire and they run out within 24 hours. The Department of Agriculture needs to get a grip on that. I have been asking for a low-cost year-round spay and neuter program for everyone to have access to, including our animal control officers, because they will adopt out dogs, cats that aren't spayed or neutered. And it's not their fault.
Yeah, yeah, but the cycle continues.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
big hamster wheel of issues that is just causing this crisis in Connecticut, which I don't even think it's a crisis anymore. It's a tsunami. Every day I get reached out from strangers, either on Messenger or just, on Facebook, begging for help, guidance. And I do it. And it takes me hours at home while I'm babysitting my grandson. Maybe I am retired. So I love doing this. I love helping. I love educating. And I never ignore anybody when I'm on vacation, which isn't often. I'll go see my daughter and she'll say to me, Mom, no helping animals. Don't look at dogs. Don't talk to people. I said, Alexa, it's never going to happen. I'm sorry.
Mm.
And I'm not that type of person. I have to help. I said, I want them to know somebody cares. And I do my best to try and help every day.
Yeah, but I know that you do have some coping skills, right? That help you. So I say this all the time. I'll say it again. I'm going to scream it until people tell me to shut up, and then I'm still going to scream it. So I say two things. We in this field can never take our mental health for granted,
No.
ever. Right? You've got to take. It's like a full-time job. You've got to take steps. You got to have coping skills. You got to have self-care skills. Got to have boundaries. All the things. But I also say there's a difference between pain and suffering. And this work is always going to be painful. But I think what makes the difference in being able to feel the pain and move on is having all the coping skills and the self care so we are more resilient. And resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity. Suffering is when we just get stuck in all of that pain. And so you have a few different coping skills and self-care strategies that help you to keep you out of that pit of despair or that suffering. And I think two of the things that you mentioned that I'd love to talk about are exercise and music. So let's talk about exercise first. What type of and we know that movement, especially rhythmic movement, is really good for like processing trauma. And as you know, we're exposed to a lot of trauma in this field. So what type of exercise do you like to do?
So I love to walk. I will walk my dogs. And yes, it's a very slow walk. So it's not exactly therapeutic, but I do it because they need it. And then I'll bring them in and I'll actually go for a walk where I can walk fast paced without my phone. No phone. You need to focus on the little things, the beautiful trees, the grass, the little rabbits, all that stuff is so helpful. I know people that will go and work out for an hour. I'm a little lazy. That's not my thing. But I do love the walking. I love sitting on my porch every morning with my dogs and my coffee, just looking at the beautiful neighborhood I live in. Things like that really, really help to set me so I can keep going. And you're right. You have to be mindful to keep helping yourself along through this journey of helping animals.
Yeah, I mean, walking, it's interesting. I don't want to get too psychobabbly here, but there is a therapy called EMDR, and it's a trauma therapy, and it was actually discovered by someone who was taking a walk. Her name is Francine Shapiro, and she was really distressed by something, and she took a walk, and she noticed that like when she got back from her walk, she felt a lot less distressed. And so she started doing some research and came up with this trauma therapy. And so
Nice.
what we know is that walking, again, that rhythmic movement helps the brain to process traumatic things. And again, it's not that it's not going to be painful, but the idea is that the pain is a little less intense and it can kind of reset us so we can continue that fight, right? And so another coping skill you have is one of my favorites. This is one of my go to coping skills as well, and that is music. So, are there any specific songs or artists or, just general types of music that help you kind of emotionally decompress or reset?
Absolutely. I am an 80s rock girl.
All right.
I graduated in 1983, so we had the best music: Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks, Billy Idol, Def Leppard. I mean, the first thing I do in the morning, click on that radio. I am
Nice.
literally dancing with my dogs to the coffee pot. They all dance with me. I absolutely love it. I hope nobody watches me in my house, and I really don't care. It is so much fun. When I was doing events for other organizations, I booked a band years ago, and they really didn't realize it that they were also very passionate about animals and were in tune to what I did. And then I started to give back to them by supporting them when they played out. And they are an 80s cover band. They are phenomenal. I always joke with them when they play. I say, "You keep me out of jail." They're like, "We don't know how you do the work," but they are amazing. And yes, music is, oh my God. I mean, everybody loves music, I hope. And it's so good for you. And like I said, the band that I go see, they're called Acid Wash, 80s cover. And they really, like, I get so reset after being with them. It is just so therapeutic.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Any particular, so I know for me, there's a few songs. So there's some songs I will go to if I'm like really, really pissed off. Like there's quite a few songs by like Five Finger Death Punch that I'll listen to, or I'll go back to like some 90s, rap and hip hop like Tupac and like murder rap. And then there's some like really uplifting songs that I'll go to sometimes. It depends on my mood. Are there certain songs that you kind of go to either help you just release the rage or just to kind of uplift you? Any like go-to ones?
Really, like I said, Stevie Nicks is my girl.
That's your girl? Yeah.
Yeah, it's in my car. I told my kids when I die, don't you dare play that crappy music at the funeral home. You bet in Stevie Nicks. They promised me they would.
Mm.
So, I mean, I love her voice. It just like sets me into this trance, and you relax. But as far as like, getting going with, definitely Billy Idol. He's just phenomenal. So many 80s bands. I listen to 1029 The Whale. They play the best 80s mix. No matter what is on, I love it. And it's always, you know, very, very relaxing and fun. And then I turn it off and I start, emailing and doing what I have to do and making my calls. And
Yeah.
I'll get people that will reach out to me and say, "Can you call this police department because they're restricting what the animal control officer is can do?" And I said, "Wow, really? Okay." So give me all the information. And I get it. There's a lot of people that are afraid to do these things, and that's okay.
Mhm.
You're doing something by bringing it to my attention because I'm not afraid. And I know how to call and respectfully talk to people in power. But I wouldn't have that mindset. I would be angry if I didn't have those coping skills and things that I do. I would never get anywhere if I reached out to a police department and said, "What are you nuts for doing this? They need to be able to do what they want to do." No, that's not going to help. I always, first of all, do appreciate our police departments. They have a very difficult job along with our ACOs. So, yeah, a little respect and kindness goes a long way.
Yeah, you're right. You're not going to be able to have a productive conversation, whether it's the police department or whether it's your legislatures, if you are all amped up and not able to be regulated. So I love the fact that like kind of going into. I'm the opposite way. Like when I do my advocacy, I kind of plan for my like recovery time after that. I love how you are proactive about it. You put on
Yeah.
some Stevie Nicks, some Fleetwood Mac, get yourself regulated, and then you can go in and be effective, or at least be listened to or be heard rather than, oh my God, this crazy lady. And you just, no one hears you.
Yeah, and and it takes practice to do that because
Oh, yeah.
I'm not in the right mindset. I will not make those phone calls or send out those emails because I know I could have a very harsh tongue and it's not going to get me anywhere. It's not even good for me to be angry. How does that help us? It doesn't. I just got done having a conversation with a friend. I said, "Let it go. How do you let it go?" I said, "You need to go do something. Go to play with your dogs. Go for a walk. Listen to
Hmm.
some music. Go eat something. I don't know." I said, "But you got to drop this anger." I said, you're going to ruin your own health. And then where are you going to be? You're not going to help your family. You're not going to help animals. You're not going to be able to continue our fight in Connecticut. It's so important. And the compassion fatigue it is so powerful out there. And it breaks my heart that I am seeing so much of it. It really is scary. And, a good friend of mine, amazing animal advocate, Renee Danino, always said, when you are kinder to each other, you are kinder to animals. And that stuck with me from the day, my God, I think I heard her say that 10 years ago. And it is just embedded in me. But it is so true. Every day I find it more and more truthful.
Yeah. And, guys, this is not about toxic positivity, right? It's not about, burying your head in the sand and, oh, everything's fine. Again, it's that ability to feel the pain and be pissed off and be sad and be fill in the blank. But then, like you said, go do something, regulate yourself, reset yourself, and then get back into that fight, right? I mean, righteous anger can be a good thing, right? It can motivate us to bring about change. But again, when we get stuck in it, when we get stuck in the suffering, we're beyond that. Nobody's going to listen to us. We're not going to be effective. We're not going to even have the energy to want to be effective. And so, one of the things that I love that you said is you are always continuing to take small steps to bring yourself peace. Can you talk about the importance of I like to call them, small victories, the wins in this work. Talk about the importance of recognizing those.
Oh, I tell people all the time, you've got to give yourself credit. And like you said, even if it's small, absolutely. I'm always amazed wherever I go. If you can go listen to my friend's band or, meet friends at a coffee shop, and people will come up to me and say, "I know who you are. I've seen you on Facebook. I know you are a strong animal advocate. Thank you so much for what you do." I could cry right now because that's how much it means to me. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that what you're doing means so much to people. I didn't realize that one of my neighbors followed me on the Nextdoor app and they walk our beautiful neighborhood. And she stopped by and she put her hands on her hip and she says to me, "You are a firecracker. You are my hero." And I'm like, "What did I do?" She goes, "I follow you on the Nextdoor app." And she goes, "You really have a way to put words out there in terrible situations, but with a positive spin and educationally. I said, wow. I said, thank you so much for telling me that, because I do try to respond in a very positive, educational way, not just, well, you're wrong. No,
Mm.
that's not going to help anybody to understand. So those little things truly mean the world to me. I really did not know that I was being noticed like that as, a fighter, as an advocate, a voice for the voiceless. I know I am. I know that I love doing it, and I will probably do it till I don't know, I'm going to be 61. So I plan on doing this until I probably have dementia. I don't know. Um, so that's just my passion. I just love teaching and educating and helping and making it fun. It's really amazing that I do get that recognition. And it shocks me every time I go somewhere. And my kids will say, "Here comes somebody, Ma. Do you know her?" I'm like,
One of your fans.
yeah, and so they'll say, "Okay." And, and I'm happy that they come up. I love that those conversations are connecting me to people that I would have never, ever known. Never. Grocery store. I go shop right down the street, and they'll say, "You look so familiar." I said, "Oh, I'm probably on the wall of the most wanted somewhere." I could
Post
joke on it
office.
because that's my other thing is humor. And they're like, "No, no, no, really." And I said, I'm really not wanted. And so, then we start, and I'll say, well, I am on Facebook for animals. That's where it was, and it's so cool. And then you get into this really great conversation. And I love connecting with people that I don't know. And then I find out maybe they volunteered at a rescue. And, I always thank them. Thank you for your work. Oh my God. Thanking each other, recognizing our contributions, I think is so important. I talk to ACOs. I'll check in on several of them that I'm close with, and how are you doing? Thank you for your work. Even on their posts, thank you so much. I know this is really emotional. They really deserve so much more.
Yeah, and the thing is, whether it's a volunteer or whether it's a professional, I think a lot of times, it can feel like thankless work.
Yes.
Like you're just kind of putting this work out into the void and not feeling like you're making a difference. And just to have someone kind of come up and validate and remind you that you are, I think that that can help to kind of fuel the passion and hopefully just chip away a little bit at that compassion fatigue.
Mm,
And so, Holly, is there anything else that you would like to add before we wrap up here?
good question. I just wish things would change in Connecticut. I just wish the state would recognize that, there are amazing people that are out in Connecticut working every single day as a volunteer or even as, our ACOs, and they need support. We need some funding and some changes. Even if it comes down to start prosecuting these animal cruelty cases appropriately with, some type of consequence. Everybody doesn't deserve to go to jail. That's not the answer. I just think that if you send a message out that you're not going to get any type of consequences, we're going to continue to see the crime increase in Connecticut, and we are.
Thank God that the animals have people like you out there. And so for anyone who's interested in learning more, so whether you're in Connecticut or not, right? So if you're in Connecticut, maybe volunteering. If you're outside of Connecticut, if you can afford maybe a small donation, Holly, where can people learn more about you or the organization?
I'm on Facebook more so than the other social media accounts. Connecticut Doggone Recovery is on Facebook. We also have a website that is linked to our Facebook account. There's so many, I have so many information, links on everything that I share on Facebook and Instagram, even TikTok. I've been asked to make some videos for people to help get dogs adopted. I love doing that stuff. And, even the Nextdoor app, I've had people contact me and say, "Hey, can you guide me on where to adopt a kitten?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I certainly could." So those I
No
love doing
shortage.
that, or a dog, they're a rescue in my area because a lot of people really don't know where to look. And I love helping that, part of it to get a dog adopted. Recently, the Hartford animal control officer had to do an interview on TV to say, we are going to start euthanizing healthy dogs because
Mhm.
we don't have the space.
Yeah.
Immediately, I reached out to a wonderful rescue in Connecticut, Dog Star. They jumped in and they are helping the ACO. And that's what it is. If we wait for the state of Connecticut to step in, it'll never happen. And it's just going to get worse. But when we are working together to help each other, that's how we're going to get this crisis under control, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when communities, when people start coming together, you're unstoppable, right? That's how change comes about. It's not the government, it's not, those in charge. It's the people.
Yeah,
People like
absolutely.
you. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Holly, thank you so much for all that you do. And thank you for coming on and sharing not just your vulnerability with compassion fatigue. I think it's so important that we're, all out there kind of sharing this stuff, but also thank you for your insights on, how you are able to take care of yourself and maintain that passion.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care of yourself.
You too.
All right. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.